So, welcome everybody. This is Christian, and this is our Soulful Conversations. It's my pleasure, my delight to introduce to you this beautiful woman, this dear friend, Judy Chan, an intuitive life coach. And part of the purpose of these soulful conversations is to just speak with, to be inspired by their stories. These real people who have overcome their own limitations, their fears, to really step into the work that they've come here to do. So welcome, Judy, and thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you, Christian. Oh, it's my delight because Christian, you as a teacher, a mentor, and a good friend, I would say for many lifetimes. So thank you for the invitation.
Well, tell us a little bit. We intentionally keep these short, and due respect to your own time and everybody else's time. We all know how busy and overscheduled we all are. But I really want to dive into the core of your message. Like, how were you able to transcend, to overcome the self-imposed limitations that have been keeping you safe, in quotes?
Mhm. Well, that's an amazing question because we all have this natural instinct to keep ourselves safe. And in your teachings, you talk about that as our egoic self trying to protect us. And I remember starting my journey 18 years ago, right before I was becoming a parent. And then I remember being in a retreat. I thought it was a writing workshop, but it turned out to be a spiritual retreat. And I was like, oh, I have no childhood wounds. My childhood was perfect. So, it's been a long journey. And I think when I met you, I started realizing that there's this entirely unseen world out there that could be perceived through our extra senses, if you will. And I had an opportunity to do that when I became a parent and I raised two children who have healing journeys. So they went through their extreme, significant, miraculous health crises. And that's when I realized, well, everything that I see in this world may not be all that there is. There's a lot more. And through your program, I went to the inaugural Adventures in Transformation program. I can't believe that's been over a year already, Christian. We had a phone call and then you told me about the program. I said, when you launch that, please let me know. And divine timing had it launched at a time in which I was just beginning my divorce. And I was seeking many things, including a harmonious relationship with my ex-husband, whom you know our family. And I was able to do that in the most harmonious and loving way. And I attribute that because I was in the program with you and the entire community, learning about some of the beliefs that I've been limited by, that my life has been influenced by without me even being consciously aware. And to do that with your expert guidance and then in community with other folks who were also going through their own journey, that was really what I needed in that moment. And you and I kind of knew that right as you were talking about the launch of your program. And I think it really brought me to a place of freedom. It was freedom from relationships that no longer serve me, but also freedom from all of those limiting, constraining beliefs. And I was just able to say, oh, if this is a framework I can consider, how much more free can I be in my life? And so as I journeyed through that over the last decade and a half, I realized, oh, guess what? Once those shackles, if you will, are off, you can live the fullest life because it allowed me in my experience to be very present in the moment and be free to choose based on my current desire what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's how it came about for me.
No, it's a beautiful story because I remember your first breathwork session in that tiny little studio in New Jersey. I even forget the name of the town, but it's been such a rewarding joy to watch you blossom, and including the transitioning the form of your relationship in such a beautiful, generous way that everybody was honored and everybody walked away feeling good from, with the opportunity to grow and to step into the real potential. And so tell us a little bit about your program, because I know you have a particular passion to work with adolescents. So tell us about how you also stepped in and launched this coaching program.
Yes, my coaching program is called Allies in Life. And I was inspired by people like you, Christian, because when I was going through very difficult times when you are a parent and the worst parental nightmare comes up and you are parenting a child who may or may not live, and you're just praying for that miraculous recovery, and you were part of that healing journey, Christian.
Mm.
I had allies just come to me, physicians, holistic healers, spiritual advisors, friends of friends. And I went on my own spiritual boot camp as I was working with these resources, these people. And I realized that trauma doesn't really have to be experienced unaccompanied, because I was so blessed with both of my children who had the healing journeys. I was accompanied, one more so than the other, and I felt the difference. So when my son, who got ill first, I felt pretty unaccompanied, and that was a struggle. I felt like I was doing it on my own, learning everything on my own, until I met a community, and then I started being part of that community and mentoring other parents in the same situation. But with my daughter, although her illness was a lot more extreme and critical, I was accompanied. I was accompanied by the entire staff at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where she spent a summer in ICU in critical care. And I had all these spiritual advisors as well. So I thought, wow, trauma, and that was less traumatic, if you can believe it. Um, to be with a critically ill child, that was a less traumatic experience for me. And I always reflect back and say, how could that be? No one would ever say that would be the case. And I said, well, I felt well accompanied. I
Mm.
know what the situation was, but I had my resources. I had support for myself and my child and my family. And I felt the love of everyone, and I felt everyone's intention for Sophia, my daughter, who was ill, to meet her destiny in whatever way, in the most positive, loving way possible. So I decided to create a practice where I can serve as an ally to anyone that's going through transition. It might be traumatic, it might not be, it might just be an intention to get into the next beautiful relationship or the most meaningful work. Or right now with teenagers, there's a lot of support that's needed as they transition from high school to college, especially during these, as we're coming out of the pandemic years. It's a huge transition. They're transitioning personally, inner and outer. And so I have circles to help support that to happen in the most joyful way. So I'm working with a group, a circle of first years in college, so that they can have the most beautiful transition. They don't have to wait for the second semester for things to get better. They don't have to wait for sophomore year to thrive. They can thrive immediately. That's how I see the world. You can thrive every day, and you can thrive right now. And it's so much more fun and so much with greater ease when you are accompanied. So I am here as an ally.
I love it. And it's almost like you're, I don't know why this is sounding this way today. It's almost like you're midwifing these people as they, to help them navigate trauma, and to make that process easier. And do you work with people remotely?
I do. I work with people remotely. I also love the fact that we can be live in person again. I use several modalities, and one of the modalities is systemic constellation therapy. And for those who this might be a new modality, it was introduced to me when my child was in the hospital and I was looking for all resources. And since it was so highly effective, I decided to study in the past 10 years. And yet, Christian, it's been 10 years since you and I know each other, because I know you were at the beginning of Sophia's healing journey as well. Um, and so it is, when we think about therapeutic settings, we really think about a one-on-one, the therapist and the client. And constellation therapy takes into consideration everybody else that's around the client. So a client is part of a system, whether it is a family system, so if they're coming with a familiar relationship issue, family system, or if I'm working with organizations and they're talking about their colleagues, different departments, everyone's part of a system. So systemic constellation therapy takes care of the entire system and is looking at things from a holistic standpoint, which is my belief because I feel like we're all connected. And so when we look at all the different connections and relationships, nothing is hidden. And when the truth is shown, healing can happen. And so that's one of the modalities. I also am of Chinese descent. And so in my ancestry, it's very common for us to really connect with our ancestors. And so with systemic constellation, when it's a familial issue, I can access and talk to ancestors, my own as well as yours and the clients. It's just something that I grew up with, rituals and altar making, somatic exercises, those are all part of my culture. And so I feel like I'm bringing that cultural awareness and those cultural learnings to my clients. And it's well received. Sometimes they don't understand how it works. They just know that it works. And then I get a follow-up email. It's like, I can't believe what just happened to me. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And can you remember that we asked for that 2 weeks ago during your session? And it seemed like it was just an ask, but the universe is listening. I truly believe that. And whatever your religious belief is, God's ears are open. And um, we're all being supported. And sometimes it just takes an ally to say, let's ask for that. And until you believe that it can happen, I will be your ally and I'll hold the faith and trust that it will happen. And that's, to me, how allies are a little bit different than life coaches. We all know about life coaches, and that's wonderful. And I do that. But I also add the piece of allies. And that's why for my clients, I give them a follow-up call because I'm like, I'm here for you. Our session ended, but I'm here for you. Call me anytime. And that's a gift that I want to reconnect and ensure that I'm here for you until you meet your intention, your goals.
I love that, Judy. And we're gonna make sure that everybody has the ability to connect with you. So we'll have the link to your website so people can reach you who want to work with you. I love your concept of being an ally. And I love that you're weaving in the ancestors into this concept of constellation. For somebody who might be watching this in the group, who might either be stuck in a relationship that they've outgrown, or who might be still holding themselves back from really stepping into their calling, any final words to support them on their journey?
Yes. Thank you, Christian. Well, I love to share my own experience. And I think sometimes we have people in our life who just get us. And so if I'm speaking to you and it feels like I get you, it's because you're meant to hear this message. When I joined Christian's program, Adventures in Transformation, and it's a year-long program, I didn't know what my intention was. I just knew I was going to need support going into the year post-divorce with a lot of family structure changes, out of a relationship of over 2 decades with a very close, tight family unit of four, because we had gone through a lot. And you covered so much, Christian, in that program through the entire year. And the participants also brought in a lot. But there was one area that really spoke to me, and I was surprised because coming out of a divorce, I was like, I'm not interested in another relationship. Thank you very much, but those are a lot of work and it can be somewhat traumatizing at certain times. Um, but it was your discussion and the quarter that we spent on relationships. That helped me improve relationships across the board, allow me to open up my heart again to an intimate romantic relationship. And I didn't think I was there, but the exercises that we did, the meditations, the mudras that you taught us, really just allowed my heart to open to anything that was possible. And so who knew that one of my deepest desires was to really connect to the most loving, supportive, intimate partner in a romantic way. And I had to go through all those exercises where, for those of you who haven't been in Christian's program or are considering, there's this list of beliefs that blows your mind. It's so comprehensive, and you're like, oh wow, I do believe that, and I know that not to be true, but it's in me because of my conditioning, whether I learned it from school, from my church, or from my family. It's in me, and yet I no longer believe that, so I don't. That doesn't serve me. Now, how do I go to transforming and not living with those limiting beliefs. And so I did that, Christian. I'm in a new relationship for 5 months, and if I'm giddy, it's because I've got that teenage I'm in love vibe going, and so does he. And it's a beautiful thing, I think, when two people come together with hearts that are open, ready to pour love into someone else, and more importantly, to receive the love that's being poured into us. And so, one of my circles that I gather are folks who are looking to revolutionize the romantic relationship. After going through that myself, I piloted a program, and it worked. So I was like, wow, what would the world be like? And I'll leave this thought with you all. What would the world be like if we were all in love with ourselves, in love with another? Obviously, we're in love with our children and our families and our friends. What would it feel like if we were in love with ourselves? And therefore, we attract someone who's also as madly in love with us.
Wow, Judy, thank you
Magic,
for
magic.
thank you for sharing so much of yourself, your wisdom with us, your beauty, your courage. And I'm so happy to hear about your new relationship. Congratulations, many, many blessings. And for anybody listening, if you'd like to be considered for one of these soulful conversations, let us know. Write to either Marjorie or myself, and we'll put you on the list. Thank you again for your time. And Judy, no words. Blessing, sister.
Thank you so much, dear brother.